Welcome to the cockpit. My name's Ryan, and I'll be your pilot tonight. I am oh so excited to talk to each and every one of you about our New York Jets. The playoff chances we may have, a great loss by a division rival. Jets got a little lucky with the Dolphins and Patriots losing. Have a little bit of luck on our side still. So you're saying there's a chance. Up here, I have reflected the updated records of the teams we're kind of competing with in terms of playoff spot, as well as their final few games, as well as the roadmap that the Jets need and the percentage chances they have based on the wins or losses with their final 3 games. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the Jets' loss to the Lions, everything that went into that, Zach Wilson's performance, Robert Saleh's coaching decisions as far as when to use timeouts, as well as all the other performers or maybe guys that maybe didn't perform. All this will be covered tonight. I've got the Packer game on as well. Have that sort of brewing down here, watching that as we're going through all this. And then at 8:30, we're going to go to the phones. And you guys are going to get 3 minutes to plead your case. After 3 minutes...
That's it! You're out of here!
That's right, you get ejected from the cockpit. So make sure you have all your questions well thought out, because otherwise I toss you out with the bathwater. I will pin the link to our call-in thing in the live chat. It'll be pinned comment in there. We're going to do the same thing as last week. Click on that. I'll be able to preload 4 people. And then if it says connecting on your side, just sit there and wait, because once I get through the 4th person, or get through one person, the next person on the list kind of hops up. So it just means you're in waiting. Yeah. So we will talk about all of that. I see you guys in the chat. Harlan, Flight, Big Green, Gangrene, NY Jets Fan 4, Chris, Kelly, Joe S, Snowball, Steve, Kev, JMG, Jim Storm, Lewis, John. Thank you guys for hanging out. Hit that like button if you enjoy the show. All right, so let me give you a little bit of my analysis after kind of sitting on this loss after a day. I definitely made my 5 takeaway video, I would say a little brash. I think I was a little excessively upset at Zach Wilson, when that probably should be directed in a different direction, as well as the Lions. Like, the Lions are a good team. They are an up-and-coming team. Anyone who's watched them the last month and a half can say that team has been playing good football. Now, you know, whether or not that should mean what the Jets did yesterday was okay or not is totally in the eyes of the beholder. I think the Jets still should have been able to score more than 17 points. But yeah, just a frustrating thing all the way around, and credit the Lions for being able to take care of business on their end. In the live chat, I do have a poll question for you guys. Grade Zach Wilson's performance. We got the little muscular arm, a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or a middle finger. So you guys can kind of go through that. Let's start right there with our quarterback, because obviously there's a lot up in the air for Thursday, depending on if Mike White can get back from his rib injury. I would say it's pretty far-fetched to have that happen. I think we're definitely missing him for this Thursday. And then at least we get a 10-day break. It's almost like a mini bye at this point in the season. So the Jets really need to capture this win, because then you might be able to get White back for the Seattle game. But we'll see. Maybe Zach Wilson did enough for you this game for you to want to just continue starting him the rest of the way out. Who knows? You can let me know. Zach Wilson yesterday finished 18 of 35, 317 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. And he's just so incredibly frustrating to watch, because when I look at Zach Wilson's game and you see the off-script stuff and you see him just throw the ball, you know, the first touchdown to Uzama, where he's running like to his left, turns, whips his leg around, and just cranks one to the other side of the field. Or the 4th down, I think it was 4th down play, the play just before the field goal at the end of the game, where he threw it across his body back to Elijah Moore. Like, those types of plays are the impressive talent that everyone saw coming out of BYU. And him to be able to do that is really cool. But then you get some other situations where it's like, okay, he's getting hit or he's trying to throw across his body or he has, whatever, just had a bad situation and he throws a duck and it's wobbling in the air. And then out of nowhere, Michael Carter comes in and jumps and catches the ball on the left hand, along the left-hand sideline. Like that to me, that could have been an interception. And it's not to say, Mike White didn't have his opportunities to potentially throw interceptions as well, but like that's just bad decision-making. Like that's not something that I want to see from Zach. And it's just some of the easy stuff that's frustrating. Like 317 yards is a nice stat line. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Again, another nice stat line. The interception was bad. It led to 3 points. Another ill-advised throw. It just looked like he didn't even read the coverage on that side of the field. Like, didn't even expect that they would have safety help over there. But then I sit back and I'm like, all right, he's still in his second year. Like, is this kid gonna get better? And I'm just upset because of where we are currently as a franchise, and where we thought we might be able to be at the end of the season, and the fact that we're on a 1-4, 1-5 skid at this point. Started the season 6-3, are currently 7-7. Just brutal. But I watch Zach, and there's a lot of times I feel like, okay, he's about to get it. He's going to figure this out. Then he has a bad pass to Barrios in the flat, or he's just missing guys left and right. Like you saw Garrett Wilson throw his hands up. Like wide open, Zach Wilson just completely missing him. And I want to say it was like the first 4 passes of the game too. I was going back and watching that every throw because I was like, you know what? There's a few people that are upset at me for the way I was upset at Zach Wilson. But clearly, I must be mistaken because these people are pissed. So I was like, all right, let me take a look at this, rewatch it. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, there's like a handful of wow plays. They were wow and they would be impressive. I would say he is trusting his athleticism far more than he's trusting the scheme or trusting his mind when he sees things that, or maybe he's just not even seeing the things. Maybe his mind's not even catching it. But I feel like he just makes everything so much more difficult for him than he has to be. And I feel like playing within the offense would allow you to get those yak opportunities that you got to see. Like the fact that Garrett Wilson was able to get 98 yards yesterday feels like nothing short of a miracle. I don't know. I was very underwhelmed overall by the team in general yesterday. So it's not all on Zach. And I would say he's probably, reason 3 maybe that the team did not perform well. I thought the defense held its own for the most part. I do blame that, obviously the punt return touchdown. It's not like entirely on. It's on special teams. I think the defense deserves a sliver or some sort of blame because of the way the Lions offense just drove right down their throat to the half-yard line. I think that was the catalyst that caused the touchdown that was on the punt. That's no excuse for having poor punt coverage and everything else that you could be said for the special teams, but it just felt like that was a rough day. This was not our defense's best performance. Clearly, Jared Goff did something that no other quarterback has done yet, and that was not target Sauce Gardner at all. They didn't even try to test him. I think that's a compliment. It's something that Sauce spoke out about and was a little frustrated because he wanted the opportunity to make a big play. And this is something that I think fans will start to have discussions about in terms of Sauce and his utilization in this defense. I think when you look at the way the Jets play their defense, and specifically Ulbrich and Saleh scheme their defense, I think it's a valid concern that the corners stay on their halves of the field. Like, they still play man occasionally and everything. Like, it's not like it's a low man percentage, but it's just, if I'm Stefan Diggs and I don't want to be going up against Sauce Gardner, all I have to do is motion into the slot, and it's no longer an issue. Like, the fact that your best corners are staying on the outside is when you wind up having like third and fourth string receivers out wide, and then you have someone like Diggs or whoever, insert whatever wide receiver you want, drop it into the slot. Now they're going against Michael Carter II, which I feel like is what we're starting to see more consistently, because the Jets and Michael Carter II have kind of gotten picked on, I would say, the last 3 weeks. So he's had himself a little bit rough go. I'd like to see this similar to like the Rex years. I want to see a little bit of Rex Ryan defense incorporated into this defense. And I want to see Sauce get the Revis treatment where you put him on his own island and you roll coverage the other way. So you bait quarterbacks to throw at Sauce. He's got the length that Revis never had. So maybe you're able to generate a few more turnovers, baiting him to go that way. Or he chooses to go the opposite direction towards DJ Reed or whoever's on the other side. And now you have safety help. And now you have a little bit more defensive fire. Sorry about that. So now you have a little more fire. If you roll coverage over to the left-hand side, you have more defensive players on that side of the field that will be able to try and create chaos and turnovers when it's not going towards Sauce Gardner. And I think that's where we kind of have fallen short the last bunch of weeks. I mean, ever since the Jets beat the Bills at MetLife Stadium, we've had one turnover in the last 4 games. And it's clear as day that the Jets offense and defense, they're both trending up in the right direction. But when you don't have the turnovers, that gives your offense the opportunities to have extra plays in their hands and to score more points. This team's just not capable of overcoming some of the shortcomings that the offense has had. But yesterday, overall defense, lackluster game. We didn't have a full stable. Obviously, no Joyner, no Quinnen Williams. We were a little bit banged up in that regard. But I think there's still enough talent on this defense that you should have been able to put up a little bit more of a fight. You could obviously blame it on special teams with a kick, missing the 58-yarder at the end there, and you could talk about the punt all you want. I think that was clearly documented, rough game for them. And then obviously the big one that I think a lot of people are looking at today, and Robert Saleh was immediately asked questions about it today and yesterday, and it was, how do you feel you used your timeouts, or would you go back and use them differently if you had a chance? And I think all of us were probably screaming at the TV saying, why are they letting the clock just continually run lower and lower? And the excuse Robert Saleh gave yesterday was you were trying to hold your timeouts till that final minute. When you have 3 timeouts, you're not thinking you're going to need to necessarily use all of them, or time shouldn't be an issue. And that's all well and good. And then he walked us through the different plays, and it was the play to Garrett Wilson that we got a first down that looked like we got maybe a favorable spot. He didn't want New York to go and try to challenge that play within the 2 minutes and prevent them from getting that first down. And Robert Saleh said he overthought it. He wound up sending out, rushing everyone to the line of scrimmage, getting the ball off instead of taking the timeout. They probably lost an extra play because of it. But I'll be honest, like, as much as the timing sucks and we should never have had to deal with a 58-yard field goal, there were a lot of passes that were just missed. Absolutely missed on that fourth drive on that last drive. And the fourth down to Elijah Moore was kind of the play that sort of covered some of that stuff up, because we at least got into field goal range. And now we're talking more about, like, why are we kicking a 58-yard field goal instead of, being further on down the field. So as much as I really, I blame Robert Saleh for this loss, more than probably a lot of other, more than a lot of other positions, but I still kind of keep coming back to Zach, and it's, this guy just can't make the throws he needs to make. I mean, 50% completion percentage. I think it wound up being, 51%, 18 of 35, and he was sacked 4 times. So really, he dropped back 39 times and was only able to complete 18 of those 39 attempts. Attempts. Not even talking about the runs he had that may or may not have been designed. He had 3 for 7. He did have the 1 rush on 3rd and 2 maybe. That was a nice little sneak. But overall, just a frustrating performance from our team. But enough about that, right? Like, that's the sad stuff. We could talk about that all day. I feel like I've harped on it the last day and a half. But you know what's really fun to harp on? At least Buffalo did us a solid, took care of the Dolphins. That was a great game. And what else was a great game was that Raiders last-second touchdown against the Patriots with Jacoby Myers throwing the ball across the field, and Chandler Jones puts Mac Jones in a friggin' body bag. Slams him 6 feet down. Ugh. I should have made that the poll question. What is worse, the butt fumble or like, I don't even know what that would be called. What is the name of that play for the Patriots? Like, one of their worst all-time game-ending plays was when Gronkowski was back there as a safety on a final play against Miami a few years ago. This one, like, why are you lateraling? Dude, you're going to overtime. There's no reason to lateral there. And, like, just pure panic. I almost blame, was it Stevenson that had the ball first? And he kind of flipped it back to Myers. I think that's what wound up happening. And he throws it all the way across the other way. And, oh, my God, it was so funny. But I almost blame Stevenson if that was who had it first, because he shouldn't have really lateraled it. He should have just kind of fallen down. It is what it is. But I see you guys talk about the fail Mary, maybe. The lateral loss. That's a good one. Jay Oak says the butt fumble is 1,000% worse. I would say the butt fumble is more embarrassing because it's called the butt fumble and it was on nationally televised TV with, Thanksgiving and just everything being, eyes on that game. But the Jets were losing that game anyway. The butt fumble didn't lose that game for the Jets. This lateral play may cost the Patriots a playoff spot. And it lost them the game. Like, that to me is way more boneheaded than, running into the back of an offensive lineman. Like, for me, it's an interesting one. No one's going to really remember it because the Patriots have won so many Super Bowls and whatever, but I don't think the butt fumble was necessarily as bad. Kevin Chatta says, most embarrassing stat for us was allowing 2 punt returns for touchdowns. Man has to go. Yeah, you talk about people not liking man. The 2 punt returns were bad enough. The dude is the reason we don't have Trevor Lawrence. He tackled the kick returner on one of our final plays against the Rams that ultimately cost us the draft pick of Trevor Lawrence. That in and of itself is enough reason to be jettisoned off this team. Poor Braden, man. I was hoping he would turn into something like much better than he has been, and he's got a booming leg. But I feel like every week I have this sort of conversation with myself where I'm like, oh, he's like not that bad, but oh, he had this flub, or oh, he had this shank, or oh, they scored a touchdown. And it's like, that's enough questioning from a punter that that shouldn't happen. Like, Morstead really should be our punter right now. The fact that we allowed him to walk out the door in place of man is not a great decision. And that 2020 draft class just really is not looking too great. Not looking too great at all. I thought I saw a comment in here. Where did I see it? There's Joe S. Joe S says, as good as Garrett Wilson is, he has to calm down with his antics. If I had to put up with wide receiver drama, this is exactly the kind of wide receiver drama I would prefer to have. Unless I miss something, like Garrett Wilson's been awesome. I saw him hugging Zach Wilson at the end of the game, consoling him, trying to show his support. He's with the team no matter what. But, yeah, let's talk about, real quick, I didn't even make a video about it, and I wound up leaving the thumbnail up. During my post game, I didn't realize I had it up. Garrett Wilson got fined for that hit in the Buffalo game. Poyer clocks him a yard out of bounds in the head. He gets up, he's upset. He gets fined $15,000 for yapping? For yapping? Are you kidding me? He got that because he tweeted out that a ref told him, oh, this ain't Ohio State. That's the exact reason he got that fine. It's not because he was yapping. That is the equivalent of shut up and dribble in the NFL. That is the shut up and dribble, shut up and do your job. Don't start questioning all these things over here. That's not okay. You shouldn't be doing that. Know your place. Get back there, $15,000 fine. That's asinine. The NFLPA better go after this. There is no reason why Garrett Wilson should have been fined that at all. And Poyer didn't get anything. Like, it's clearly out of bounds. Like, that's not a football play. Ugh. Brutal. Mikey Mouse says, Zach was decent, but still can't make some throws. There were a couple drops and that non-called defensive pass interference. Beautiful throw, by the way. Also, for a guy with a strong arm, consistently throws long balls short. Yeah, like, that's the other thing, too. Like, even a lot of, like, the bomb passes that Zach Wilson had yesterday were bomb passes that were, like, punts. Like, that throw that we were all making fun of Tua for at the beginning of training camp, where he threw the bomb to Tyreek Hill, and they're like, and the Dolphins were all excited, like, oh, here comes a bomb from Tua. And it's like, it looks like a punt. Tyreek Hill's just catching it like he's returning a punt. That's what it felt like for a lot of Zach Wilson's throws. Like, they weren't going crazy far. And for a dude that has such a strong arm and is able to really get the ball down the field, you think he'd be able to, like, do something a little better than that. So, yeah, I'm right there with you. Joe S. says, every time Zach misses him, he throws up his arms. I think some of it is him throwing up his arms for his quarterback. I think some of it is throwing up his arms for a flag. I think either way, you probably have to control your emotions a little bit better. But the play he threw his hands up with, I think it's the one that we're both talking about here. Like, Zach was not close. This is incredibly frustrating for the wide receiver room. There's no way they're happy that Zach Wilson is starting right now. I think it's pretty bad. Radovan comes in and says, talking about performance the whole season, Whitehead and Lawson are Jags, got to go. Also, can we get some designed ribs? Runs is what I think you meant. Get some designed runs for Zach. Yeah, talk about, like, I don't want to say bad signings, because, like, I really like Carl Lawson a lot. I like him the person. I don't blame his Achilles injury on any sort of previous injury history. It's not like an ACL tear is indicative of future Achilles tears. Like, for those of you that are, like, bitching about fucking, you know, injuries and whatnot, that's not the right one to do. But you could be upset that he got injured and we wasted a year of his contract. And this year, he's at, what, 4, maybe 5 sacks? Like, this is par for the course for him. This is kind of what he's done his entire career, where he's generated pressure and just hasn't been able to close it out. So I would be shocked if Lawson were back with the Jets next year. I think he's definitely going to get cut, especially now that you've seen Jermaine Johnson have some success. You've seen Michael Clemens have some success. You have John Franklin Myers that you like keeping out there, and then you have Bryce Huff as well. So there's a lot of opportunities, and I would also go so far as to say the Jets should – this is one of those positions the Jets should just continuously draft high upside guys and just hope you can groom them. Guys that you can turn into maybe something, you know, Bryce Huff-like. I'd like to see something like that. So, yeah, I do think that Lawson – has not performed well, and I think he will be gone at the end of the season. As far as Whitehead, I like Whitehead, but man, all season long, he has just drove me nuts with his inability to wrap up. And, you know, there's a few plays there. I think it was the Eagles game in the preseason. I think it was the Bengals game on the long pass after the John Franklin Myers injury penalty that extended the Bengals' drive, ultimately leading to a touchdown. He's had a few, like, hits where he just doesn't wrap up. This guy doesn't know how to tackle, and he hits the piss out of people. So, like, I want to see him just sort of do the fundamental thing and wrap up, bring the ball carrier down. And, like, I don't know. Whitehead's not someone that I'm overly upset about. Like, he's not, like, I wouldn't mind upgrading from him, but we still need another safety on the other end with LaMarcus Joyner probably not coming back next year. So I would hold on to Whitehead personally. I think keeping him for another season is all right. I think you have him for 3 years anyway. So I would hold on to him for next year. Upgrade your free safety on the other side, and then maybe the following season, if you don't have someone internally that has increased their level of play, then maybe you decide you want to draft someone else, bring in a free agent, something along those lines. But I do agree with Radovan here. I do think that Whitehead and Lawson have both been Jags. And for those of you guys that don't know what Jags are, it's just a guy. J-A-G. Just a guy. And that is how they've played all season. So I'm not upset with that take by any stretch. Jeddah Buttercup says Zach will be the starter in 2023, whether any of you like it or not. I think it's far more likely that he's here than not here. He would really have to royally piss off like all the coaches and all his teammates for him to not be here. Like, he said all the right things after the game yesterday, and like were you satisfied with your performance? And no, he said he wasn't satisfied. He thought he could have done more to help his team win, and I think he learned from previous weeks. It's like, I got to watch what I say. I got to make sure I say the right things. And I'm not going to crucify a guy, for his post game interview per se. I know it definitely rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, but I do still think that Zach Wilson is a victim of a brain fart, just accidentally saying something stupid and not reading the room, talking about the no, I did not let my defense down thing a few years ago. But as far as Zach being the starter in 2023, I would love for that to be the case. But I really think Joe Douglas is going to have a competition, whether that be with Mike White, who I think has the highest percentage chance of being here next year compared to any other quarterback that we could bring in. I would like to see a competition of Mike White, Zach Wilson, and like a third-round rookie. And the third-round rookie is there just to kind of sit and learn, potentially be the backup, because you don't know what's going to happen to Mike White after next year, assuming he comes back. I think they're going to sign him to a Band-Aid contract. Hopefully between him and Zach, one of them can show out. They wind up signing that player. Well, obviously not Zach because they have a few more years with him. But then maybe Mike White gets his big contract after 2023 if he were to show out the entire season. The other issue with Mike White is the guy can't stay healthy. Like, every hit he takes, I mean, he's gutsy and ballsy as hell. Like, no one's going to, knock him for his toughness by any stretch of the imagination. But he does get hurt, and when you're not available to be on the field, that is an issue. So sometimes you got to live the fight another day, and I do like that he's earning his teammates' respect right now, but I think it's something that if they do want to move forward with Mike White in the future, it's something that I think is worth addressing, so that way the team in general can have their quarterback in there for more snaps, because not having Mike White yesterday, it did hurt the offensive side of the ball for sure, even though Zach had the 300 yards. Let's see, what else you guys talking about? JMG says the throw where Garrett Wilson got frustrated, it was way off, and even if he caught it, he probably would have been sent to the hospital. Yeah, he got hung out to dry. That was the kind of thing we saw. Alan says, I'm a Zach supporter. He's just got more potential than Mike. I want to be a good team for a long time, not a team that's good for 1 year. And I think, Alan, I think a lot of us probably share that same mentality overall. Like, I think all of us are probably Zach supporters. I don't think that doesn't. I'm always going to support Zach as long as he wears a Jet uniform. That doesn't mean I think he should be our starter. But I get what you're saying. You think he has more potential because of the arm strength, because of the speed, the elusiveness. And I think there is some validation for that. Like, I think when you look at the 49ers and you look at Jimmy Garoppolo, who I would compare similarly to Mike White in that they are mobile in the pocket, but they don't, they're not mobile in the sense of running very frequently. When you look at Zach Wilson and you look at Trey Lance, you're looking at guys that are more mobile. They have the strong arms. Like, that's where this offense, or at least the perception of Kyle Shanahan, is that this offense needs that caliber of player to take the offense to another level. And if Zach Wilson were able to play within the confines of this offense and then use his off-script stuff when it is required, then you have a beautiful painting right there. Like that, like, think about all the quarterbacks that have had really rough first 2 years in their career and then turn it around their third year. I don't know if someone has played as poorly as Zach has played and been able to do that kind of a turnaround, but I can see the wow on the wall and what it could be. My issue is that I just don't know if he's got it. Like, I don't know if he can figure it out between the ears to make the correct reads and make it in a fast enough like time frame. Because when I'm looking at this and I'm watching Mike White run this offense, this is like the perfect quarterback aside from like the better mobility. Like he makes decisions so fast. He snaps the ball out of there, and it feels like, everything is so well timed. And maybe that means we need to change our offense. But based on the Shanahan offense around the NFL, it seems like this is the kind of offense that works. And I don't particularly want to change it to, I guess, look, I understand if you want to change it to try and fit your quarterback, especially a number 2 overall pick. I get that. But when you have so much success with other quarterbacks, and it's really like the accuracy thing that is confusing me. Like it's all those easy throws that Zach is missing that has me kind of over, confused and concerned. I don't know. Pedro says, instead of Mike White settling and playing to another day, give the man a true O-line and won't let him get folded like a lawn chair. I do think we'll have a better offensive line next year. I think at the very least, you're going to probably have better play out of Tomlinson. I would say you'll get AVT back. Becton, if he gives you anything at all, it's more than you got this season. I don't think Fant comes back. I do think we have to upgrade the tackle position, and I think we probably add a little bit more depth on the offensive line because Herbig's not going to be coming back most likely. You have to re-sign McGovern. A lot of this is going to fall on Joe Douglas prior to free agency starting. Can he bring back the center in McGovern? Can you sign him to a better deal, a cheaper deal? Because there's only like 4 or 5 centers that are getting paid over $10 million, and I think he's one of them. I don't think he's necessarily played to that level right now. And then I think, look, there's a real possibility the Jets go after Jack Conklin in free agency. I think there's a real possibility the Jets draft a tackle in the first round. There's a lot of help that could be had, but I agree. I think Mike White with an offensive line, or even Zach Wilson for that matter, with a better offensive line, will have more success. Not to mention you're getting Breece Hall back next year. Like there's a lot of things to look forward to. Knobcraft says Zach isn't even good enough for mediocrity to be his ceiling, and it's all he's been asked for. It's so bad we're excited for Mike White. When did we turn into the Atlanta Falcons where mediocrity is the goal? Knob, I'll be honest, we've kind of fallen into that like for a long time. Like, think about how bad our quarterback play has been for the last decade, and where we have just been saying we just want to see competent football. Like before the season, I said I want to see the Jets' little logo in the bottom corner on ESPN that says "In the Hunt" in December, which is exactly what we are, and I'm like frustrated based on where we're at right now. So like, I don't know. We're not hoping for mediocrity, but Zach Wilson, they want to see baby steps. And if he can perform the offense at a basic level and you can build on things, then that's great. And I think you could definitely do that. But unfortunately, with his arm strength and like decision making, like he's throwing the ball 100 miles an hour to anyone who tries to catch it, which is not good. There's no touch on those throws. And then I think there's also they want to get him comfortable. But yeah, look, I don't want to say I'm frustrated for being excited with Mike White because Mike actually has played well. That's probably the best quarterback play we've seen since Chad Pennington, or maybe like, I guess healthy Favre the following year. It's been, there's enough hope with Mike White that I want to see a little bit more from him. It's not that I'm anointing him the starter long-term or anything, but I think if you think his floor is comparable to Jimmy G. If you think, hey, if we protect Mike White and he can distribute the ball, just like you would say, hey, if you could protect Jimmy Garoppolo and he could distribute the ball, we're going to be a good team. I think Mike White can be that kind of quarterback, and I would prefer to bring him back, which is good with me. Outside of that, I really like me some Gardner Minshew. I think Jet fans should be keeping an eye on this. Apparently, he's going to be starting against the Dallas Cowboys this week. He's going to be a free agent after the season. Jet fans should be watching that Dallas game. Just keep an eye on it. Gardner Minshew's in Philadelphia. He was traded after the Jaguars drafted Trevor Lawrence number 1 overall. He clearly was not going to be the starter there. Gets traded to Philadelphia. Philadelphia says, okay, you're going to be in a quarterback competition with our second-year quarterback and Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts wound up playing really well last year. Minshew sits on the bench. He did come in for 2 games last year. One of the games was against us, 242 yards, 2 touchdowns against us with a perfect passer rating in the first half. And that's not anything to write home about based on what our defense was last year, but it's a checkbox. It's okay, he did exactly what he needed to do. And then you see him, sit behind Hurts again. Hurts is playing an MVP caliber level this year. So when I'm looking at quarterbacks that could be options for the Jets, one that is sneaky is Gardner Minshew. Joe Douglas came from Philadelphia. He's going to have an inside track in terms of people in the building that might be able to give him a vibe as far as how they think Gardner Minshew has progressed, where they think he is. And I think watching him against Dallas is a really great test for the Jets because you're going to be able to see him with weapons for the first time, and you're going to be able to see him against a really good defense. So I think that's something I would keep an eye on for sure. Knobcraft says Jimmy G is a 4-letter word. Jimmy G, well, that's what sucks, right? Our team we think is so good that you could have average to slightly below average quarterback play and have a successful season. And that's why people are saying Jimmy G. And that's what's so damning about the whole Zach Wilson thing, I think, is because you're just hoping for bare bones. He's not providing you that. Kevin Chatta says, Mike White is on par or better than Jimmy G. That's actually exactly where I'm at. And Jimmy G does get injured a lot, which is exactly what Harlan's saying as well. But I think you do have to keep an eye on Mike White and hope that he doesn't continually get injured, when he does come into play. So we'll see. All right, we're at 8:40. I should really go into some calls. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the call-in number in the live chat. All you have to do is click on the link. It'll take you to a web page. Just follow the prompts there. It'll get you onto the call-in show. That is awesome. I'm looking forward to talk to you guys. If you get in and it has connecting, it's just going to say, just connecting. Hold on. I can have 4 people in the queue and it just says connecting if you're number 5 or later. Looks like we got Jake. Charles is in there too. So you guys hang tight. I'm going to go to Jake first. Jake, can you hear me, brother?
I can hear you well, man. How you doing?
I'm hanging in there. Talk to me. What are you thinking about yesterday's game?
Very frustrating. Very frustrating. You know what, dude? I'm just going to get right to the point. Trevor Lawrence looks like the better player. And I am very afraid Thursday night it's going to be our worst nightmare on beating the Rams is going to look like the worst nightmare for us now. I'm sorry to say it.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I was saying that earlier, Braden Mann, dude. Brutal making that tackle at the end of that Ram game.
Yeah, and look, the plays that everyone's going to praise for Zach Wilson yesterday, and the truthers are going to say it, was the lobby pass to Michael Carter, the rolling to the right for the 40. This was like the Titans game last year. We threw those 2 deep passes to Corey Davis, but the singles, doubles, triples like the Atlanta game last year he couldn't do, like he couldn't do with the many other games last year against – I can't watch this anymore, man. Garrett Wilson has every right to be furious. All the other players have rights to be furious. The only reason that Elijah Moore catch at the end of the game is because he did the backyard play style. You can't do this, man. This is not BYU football. This isn't college. This is the NFL. You want to beat the better teams. It's not cutting it. It's just not cutting it. I'm sorry. And the defense, yes, they blew some moments. They're getting pushed to the max. They need better turnovers. They need to get more turnovers. That I will make a very clear point. They need more linebackers next year. Maybe another safety. They'll cut John Franklin Myers and Lawson. Those guys have completely just not played up to their contracts. But all in all, right now, you know what? I'd rather be in Jacksonville's position right now because they have a franchise quarterback. I'd rather 9 out of 10 times have the franchise quarterback and just draft players to fix the team than have this collectively great roster and have no quarterback situation solved. Unless Mike White's still the guy. I hope so. He's back in a week, but who knows?
Yeah, when I'm looking at Jacksonville, I also see their division. The AFC East, the hardest division in football, along with the NFC East. And you look at the Jaguars, they got the Texans, the Colts, and the Titans, who look like they are, just a year or two away from Derrick Henry just not kind of being there anymore. There's only so long his legs are going to be able to take them.
I don't think it's going to be a shocker if Mike Vrabel gets fired. They already got rid of Joe Robinson. It's not a given. They can get rid of him, and I think Ryan Tannehill is showing you once again he has this high floor, low ceiling kind of play, and they're not scaring anybody. Look, I'll make this even very simple. I think the Jets can still make the playoffs, but Burrow, Allen, Patty, one of those three are going to the Super Bowl. So anyone has any other chance of beating those three, good luck. I think it's you're smoking the magic pony ride dragon, whatever at this point.
I hear you, brother. Dude, it's been rough. I don't know what to expect because of, I'm looking at the last 3 games for us. I'm looking at like what other teams have to do, and I'm just thinking, you know what? I don't know if I trust the Jets to be able to do what needs to be done, or I don't want to like believe it too strongly because I think it could totally come crashing down. I'm just going to break my own heart because of it. I don't know. It's been frustrating. I think the Jags are in a better position than the Jets are right now, and yeah, it's frustrating. So Jake, thank you so much for the call. You have been ejected from the cockpit. All right. Next up, we got Charles. Charles, welcome to the show.
Hello, Ryan. How are you, buddy?
I am hanging in there, holding on to my last little bit of sanity I got.
I watched the game at my friend's house yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
He's a Steelers fan, but he doesn't really keep up with the team.
Okay. Interesting. I mean, I guess they're not that good this year, so you kind of don't have to watch too hard.
His father usually follows the team, but my friend Colin, not so much. He's never really followed the team throughout his life. So, anyway,
go for it.
The game was definitely entertaining. It was frustrating at times. I know Zach Wilson wasn't a great performance, but I thought he played his ass off. I mean, I personally, to me, I thought he played his ass off because the offensive line, A, the run game was terrible, and B, the pass protection was terrible. Mm-hmm. And yes, there were throws he missed. I'm not going to deny. I mean, that's the pain in the ass about Zach Wilson. He plays hero ball, but when it comes to making the easy look easy, he stinks at it for the time being. You can obviously tell having Quinn Williams not in the game really diminished our pass rush. Because he was having an all-pro caliber year, Quinn Williams, and hopefully he's back in time for the Jaguars game. If not, we're going to need Quinn Williams to make a playoff push. But, obviously that 4th down play really kicked us in the ass, but it sucks. But I also want to make a point out to you that Garrett Wilson's a superstar in the making. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. He's an incredible receiver. I mean, that second 33-yard catch he had was a thing of beauty.
Yeah, I mean, he's been an impressive wide receiver. And this was someone who, I didn't want to go receiver at 10, and I could not have been more wrong. This was such a great pick for the New York Jets. This kid is such a baller. I didn't. My dad, I don't know if I told you this, but when we were watching on Jared, my Jeff's like, okay, number 10, get Jermaine Johnson. And we get Garrett Wilson. My dad was like, watch the Jets trade back up and get somebody. Yeah.
And they want to get the guy, and they want to get Jermaine Johnson at 26th.
Couldn't have worked out better.
It did, but obviously, Sauce Gardner had a good game once again. But as I said before, they didn't put any pressure on Jared Goff. But then again, to the respect and defense of the Detroit Lions, their offensive line is phenomenal.
Yeah, they're a top 3 unit.
I mean,
we couldn't even get a sack. That's what's so brutal. Like, we consider our defensive line as one of these strong, stout units, and we just couldn't do anything.
Well, good offense can beat a good defense sometimes,
Yeah, I would say that's exactly what wound up happening. Not to mention a good defense that has a few flesh wounds, a few injuries across the board. Charles, thank you so much for the call. You have been ejected from the cockpit. All right, up next, we got Disregard Papa. Papa, how you doing?
Good. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
All right. Well, this is actually my first time calling into the show, so.
Nice. Glad to have you. I just changed the whole format around, so even though you and I are video chatting, no one else can actually see you. They're just hearing your voice, so don't worry too much.
All right.
How goes it?
First thing I'm going to say is I went to the game yesterday, and, man, it was such a heartbreaking loss. And
It's brutal. And you guys had some. It was cold out there too, chilly.
Yeah, it was cold, but I bred through it. But one thing I want to point out is today I watched this video. It was by Boomer Esiason and Daniel Jeremiah, and I think they made a really good point about Zach. So basically, what they said was they made a baseball analogy where like Zach is the type of person to like have a low batting percentage, but like always have these high volume, big home run hits. And they also talked about how the way Zach Wilson plays is not really fit for the offense. Like our offense is based on rhythm and timing, and the way Zach Wilson plays isn't really like that. Also, I've come up with a little theory. So, I think that the Jets were fooled. Dude, they thought that Zach Wilson was a pocket passer because of his college, but his offensive line was so stout and so good in college that he practically had his own little area in the field to throw in. And that's why
you're talking about those offensive linemen were like 23, 24 years old. They all went on their missions prior and came back to school.
And I think in order for us to like fully maximize Zach Wilson, we need to have him get out of the pocket more. And I think we just need to have him in like this sweet spot where he's not really getting the pressure's not really bearing down on him, especially with our offensive line that isn't really that good. And I mean, you see all the explosive plays he's made throughout his entire career. They've all been out of the pocket, and I don't know. I feel as if he's more accurate and more like composed. Also, one thing I noticed is that so that throw to CJ Uzama, I saw that his feet were planted, and that's why it was like such a really good pass. And I feel as if when he's calm,
Yeah, I feel like when I look at Zach and I see his style of play, he's clearly more comfortable when he can go off script or can react to what he's kind of seeing and make the play in that type of fashion. So if he can learn the playbook front and back and he can react saying, oh, that's what I'm seeing, I need to do this over here or make this read, then I'd be feeling a lot more confident. I think for me where the baseball analogy loses a little bit of traction is you have a guy that has a low on-base percentage or something like that, but then you have a situation where, okay, that batter's going through the lineup 5 times along with 8 other guys where Zach Wilson is the guy. Like, you don't have 8 other quarterbacks that you're rotating through. But I understand where you're coming from with this. So, dude, I appreciate you being out at the game because, man, we need as much help as we can to make our home games not turn into away games for our New York Jets with the way other teams travel. Disregard Papa, thank you so much for the call. You have been ejected from the cockpit. All right, up next, I've got Christian. Christian, what's up, dude? Welcome to the cockpit.
Hey there, Ryan. How are you doing?
I'm hanging in there, dude. It has been a rough last 24 hours. Talk to me. How you feeling about yesterday's game? How you feeling about the playoffs?
I'm feeling kind of empty now because we had a chance to get a good position and we just gave it away. Like, come on. How do you let that tight end who has only catched like 2 balls or something all year for a 50-yarder? Also,
brutal.
Also, you remember that non-pass interference that should have been pass interference in the end zone?
Oh, yeah, you got mugged. I mean, I also don't understand why we're throwing so many passes at Jeff Smith's direction. Like, that in and of itself, and it's not that he did bad by any means, but like, Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore should be getting the looks prior to Jeff Smith, and it felt like every one of those throws was like, okay, this is designed for Jeff Smith. Let's make sure he gets the ball. Like that's
exactly that's what I'm thinking. And because the Jets lost, I can't tell you how many times I was trolled today by my friends who are Giants fans. Man,
they had a nice win.
They just won't shut up. They just won't shut up.
I mean, the nice thing is that we can at least have some wins. Like the fact that we're even at 500 is really nice. I'd be so mad if we wind up finishing below 500. Like for me, I said a good season would be 9-8 at the beginning of the season. And to me, I would say 9-8 would be kind of a failure. I do want to get to 10 wins. That's like 10 wins makes me feel good about our season.
Yeah, big facts. I think we have a good shot to make the playoffs. I think, in my opinion, like we can obviously beat Jacksonville and Seattle, and I'm not sure about Miami because sure, we beaten them early in the year, 40-17 with the third stringer, so that might be a little bit of a challenge. And the Jets can realistically win 10 games, but since we all know how it's going to go, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, well, that's just it. It's like I'm looking at these final 4 games prior to us losing the Lions game. I'm like, oh, we can win all 4 of these. This is, we're no joke. But then you see like the injuries start happening, and you see like, okay, maybe some shaky performances from guys that we otherwise wouldn't expect that from. You're talking about like Braxton Berrios dropping a ball against the Vikings, Michael Carter fumbling the ball. Yesterday the coaching mental lapses and whatnot. It's just been very frustrating all the way around. And I think even though I think we can win all 3 of these games coming up, I think we can very easily lose all 3 as well.
Yeah. Also, I don't know what it is with, on Instagram, I'm looking at the Jets post, and everybody is blaming Zach for some reason, even though it's basically the defense, the special teams, and the coach's fault that we all lost. But still,
I'll be
some
honest,
people are just delusional.
I'm in a similar-ish boat, and it's frustrating because I look at yesterday's game and I look at the box score and I see Zach Wilson's stats and I say, all right, that's like kind of good. I like the 300 yards. I like seeing that. But at the same time, this is the second time we've seen him at 300 yards, but at a 50% completion percentage, which is just not okay. You cannot throw less than 60% completion percentage. I mean, you're talking, you need another, 6 completions probably to make this like a reasonable number here. I did not think Zach helped our team as much as he limited some of what we could do, but he is probably like 3rd or 4th on the list in terms of reasons why we lost. Like Salah, the defense, and special teams do all need to be ahead of him to some extent or another. Now, special teams, I understand the punt return. I still keep saying I put a little bit more onus on the defense because of the positioning of where that wound up being. But yeah, overall, Zach had an all right day. We should have been able to win with his type of performance. But I think him missing these easy passes on that last drive is what forced us to go for a 58-yard field goal, because he just couldn't hit Elijah Moore crossing across the center of the field. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm frustrated, and I don't know how to really express it about Zach.
Yeah, I think
Boom, Christian, thank you so much for the call. You've been ejected from the cockpit. All right, I got 4 on deck, and then I got Lima Bean sitting, waiting a little further back. Okay, we got Mitch, Cole, Rico, Ray Donovan. You guys all stay on the line. Lima Bean, hang in there. I know it's saying connecting for you, but just hang tight. I'll get to you. Next up, we got Mitch. Mitch, welcome to the cockpit.
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Hanging in there. How'd you feel about yesterday's loss, and how do you feel about the Jets' chances of possibly making the playoffs?
I don't think the season's over just yet. I think it's still possible as long as the team, comes together and actually wins the games we're supposed to right now. But just talking about the game yesterday, I was there at the stadium, and I have to disagree with you. I think it was mainly on Zach. I mean, I was in there and I was watching, and just too many open guys that he just, for some reason, misses them. Like, the best one I can think of is the one where Tyler Conklin goes like 8 yards, sits down, is just standing there, and then Zach just completely misses him.
Just brutal.
Yeah,
and I would say I do fall in that same line of thinking. I think this team was hamstrung because of Zach. I don't think he's the biggest reason why we lost, but I do think it was like a major issue for sure.
Well, the reason why I think it's more so on Zach is just because, like, obviously at the end of the game, like, you can't have Robert Saleh not calling timeouts. Even after the first big play, I was saying, shouting, like, why are we not taking a timeout after we lose 30 seconds? And then,
the clock management was really bad.
Yeah, it's just, and I understand what you're saying about the whole, you're not going to blame entirely special teams because of how far the defense allowed the Lions to push. But, I mean, still, it's like, I would understand you give up a big return, let him get down to, like, the 20, but still, you got to give your defense a chance to stop him again.
Yeah, no, I agree. I 100% agree. I shouldn't take as much blame off of the special teams unit as I have the last 2 days. they didn't hold up their end of the deal either.
Yeah, exactly. It's just and at the end of the day, the reason why I'm still going to blame Zach more than I'm blaming a lot of other things is just because of the fact, like, at the end of the day, the defense, you take away that 7 points the special teams gives up, and defense only gives up 13 points, and it's just like what we're talking about against the Patriots, where the team only gave up 3 points. You need more than just 17 points. Like, yeah, Zach Wilson finally got you that touchdown at the end of the game, but you need more the rest of the game.
Yeah, no, it's true. You can't score 17 points on one of the league's worst defenses, and that's it's a little tongue in cheek. I definitely laid a little too hard into the Lions and how quote unquote bad they are, but they're really not a bad team. They're on the upswing for sure, and you're starting to see them all start to click. And it just felt like you look at what other teams have done to this defense, even while they were playing well, and the Jets should have been able to muster more than 17 points. We have more talent on this team than 17 points. And I think Zach handicapped us and prevented us from getting, what we could have.
Just last thing, because I see I got a little time, but
go for it.
Please, God, give me Mike effing White back.
Brother, thank you so much for the call. You have been ejected from the cockpit. All right. Cole is coming on next. Cole, how you doing tonight? Can you hear me?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I am hanging in there. How did you feel about yesterday's loss to the Lions, and how do you feel about the Jets potentially making a little bit of a playoff push here?
It was a gut punch, obviously, but I still feel like we have a shot. I mean, it's not out of the picture, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, obviously, I've got my little graphs right here. This is what could happen, and the percentage chances. Basically, you got to win the final game of the season. That's where the bread and butter is going to be. You might be able to afford one loss, but I'm going into this thinking I need to win all 3.
Yeah, but I have to say, the Jets always play teams right as they're heating up, and I hate it. Because
that's kind of right. Like Minnesota was coming off. Yeah. They've been playing well. The Bills are a juggernaut. The Lions are probably the hottest team in football right now. Like, you're looking across the league, and I mean, if we didn't play the Lions, I'd be rooting for the Lions. Like, I'm excited to watch them play as a team, especially since they've been on Hard Knocks and everything. You just kind of have a little bit more of a personality to them.
Yeah, I love their team. They're just fun to watch. But
yeah, Dan Campbell's an interesting coach too.
Oh yeah, him and Sal are really similar. But
so talk to me how you're. Go for it.
I was at the game yesterday. Amon-Ra was in the slot, I think, the entire game but one snap. I think Sauce had one snap on him. It was like they just avoided Sauce at all costs. It was like they didn't want anything to do with him.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why I was kind of getting into it earlier this stream. I think we need to give Sauce the Rex Ryan treatment and the Revis treatment, where you start rolling coverage to the opposite side of the field, because teams are just going to avoid him. And it's great when you have one great wide receiver that he's going to stay on the entire time. But if he's staying off to the right-hand side, you're just going to put your 3rd and 4th wide receiver out that way, let Sauce cover him, and just don't throw the ball his direction. Like, for me, that doesn't necessarily help us. It doesn't hurt necessarily, but there's no strategic advantage when they can just avoid you.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, missing Davis and Mims, I felt that was killer. Mims is stepping up. I like him. I do like Mims. I'm glad he's under contract for next year, because I think we are going to cut Corey Davis. And I think Mims, while not being as good as Corey Davis, can at least provide enough of like an upside. Yeah, I get that. But I feel like Zach Wilson is just the scapegoat in this situation. He did fine. He did fine. But he wasn't the reason we lost. He tried.
Not the main reason. No, I think he was definitely an issue though. Like when I watch, if you go back and watch like the every throw video and you just kind of just tally like, okay, that was a good pass, or that was a bad pass, or that was a throwaway.
Yeah.
You kind of go through the whole thing. And I should really do that. Should be the pinned comment that I do under each one of those, because that would probably tell us a lot more. But it just feels like most of his throws are difficult to catch. Like even his throws that are on target to Garrett Wilson, they're not thrown in stride. And it just makes everything a lot harder. And then you see some of the passes like to Garrett Wilson where it's just throwing it way over his head or behind Mims. Like the first 4 passes of yesterday's game, he was not even remotely close.
Nope, not even. But I have one last thing.
Sure, go for it.
Our one drive that was super successful, 3 plays, 73 yards.
Mm-hmm.
2 of the 3 plays, they roll him out of the pocket. And then they do that like 3 more times the entire game. I didn't get that. Like, if he's having success rolling out of the pocket, why stop it?
I'd have to go back and look and see, were those designed rollouts or were those, hey, you're in the pocket and he decided to roll out?
Plays. Play action.
So he legit, it was called that way.
It was the 33-yard pass to Wilson and then the 40-yard bomb to Uzama.
Yeah.
Back
so maybe, yeah, I don't know. To me, when I look at those, it doesn't feel like that's sustainable with such a bad offensive line. Like maybe we'd have a little more success deeper down the field if your line can hold a little bit longer. I don't know. I think that's why we're so heavily criticizing Zach on the short passes that he's missing, because those are the ones that we can get away with. And you see Mike White just hitting those simple plays, and we're able to see all that yak come about. But, brother, thank you so much for the call. You have been ejected from the cockpit. All right. Next up, we've got Radovan. Radovan, thank you so much for calling in. Welcome to the cockpit.
Woo! Let's go, baby. Go Jets.
Dude, I'm hanging in there. How are you feeling about yesterday's loss? How are you feeling about the Jets' possible chances at the playoffs?
You know, I am not feeling great. I'm driving through Minnesota right now in the cold north. It's 5 degrees outside. There's ice. There's snow blowing across the road. It's taking everything in me not to just dump this car into the ditch right now after that game.
Oh, it's brutal. Well, be safe. Don't do anything stupid. Wait till maybe after the season. Maybe we turn it around, right? Come on. We'll be all right.
That's right. But hey, like this last guy was saying, Cole, why don't we call this game, the offense at least, a little bit different? We did one design run with Zach, it seemed like. It looked all right. Why not some more design runs?
Yeah, look, I'll be honest. I want to see a lot of RPOs with Zach. I mean, if you don't think that his arm is doing it enough for you, use him like Justin Fields. Who gives a shit? If he's not going to throw the ball well, just let him do some design runs, some design rollouts. Let him use his athleticism to his advantage. And then hopefully he can play off script. You know, it sucks because, like, for me, I really like Mike LaFleur and I like the offense that he's implementing because I do think it's successful in the NFL and I do think we're seeing far more guys open in this offense than I've ever seen for the New York Jets. And part of that is, you know, the skill positions are just better this time around. But, like, I'm afraid to move on from Mike LaFleur. Like, if the thought process was, oh, let's switch up the offensive coordinator to someone that can build around Zach the right way, I don't know if I want to do that. Like, it's very odd for me to feel that way because he's the number 2 overall pick, and I should want to do anything in my power to build an offense around him. It just doesn't feel like I want to do that. Like, is that weird to think? Like, am I weird for saying that?
No, I agree with you.
So what do you think? What's the answer? What do we do?
Go ahead. I don't know. I don't know right now. I don't know if I believe in Zach, but he's what we've got right now. I sure as hell don't believe in Flacco. I'll tell you that, being the number 2 quarterback. Dress Strevler. Let him run some just like 1 or 2 plays a quarter. I'm serious. 1 or 2 plays a quarter. If Zach goes down, Flacco's not going to win the game anyway. Let Strevler go out there, play backyard football, and if he sucks, just kneel the ball. Let's end the game. You know, whatever.
Yeah, but, I mean, look, I'll be honest.
Flacco. Throw Strevler in.
Flacco should retire yesterday. Like, I don't want to see Flacco ever have the ball in his hand again. He should be a coach, you know, helping, and that's it at the very most. I would love to see Strevler out there. I want to see him in like a Taysom Hill kind of a role. And I'm a little surprised the Jets haven't tried to do it because Strevler definitely backs up Zach better in terms of like matching physical skill sets than like even Mike White would have. Like, Mike White to me is closer to Joe Flacco than Zach Wilson is to Mike White or Strevler is to Mike White. So, yeah, I'm with you. I would prefer to see Strev out there. But brother, thank you so much for the call. You have been ejected
You're out of here!
All right, Landon, you're up next. Landon, how you doing tonight, brother?
I'm doing all right, Brian. I am actually in Detroit for work. So I was running on the treadmill yesterday during the game, and I'm going back and forth with the guy next to me where he's cheering every single time Detroit does something. Like the Russian touchdown that got called back for holding.
Oh, yeah.
He's pumping his fist, and then I see the flag, and I'm pumping my fist, so we're going back and forth for the entire first half. But I just wanted to talk about
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little bit optimistic on the season, but I'm
Okay.
not optimistic on the playoffs. And then when it comes to Zach, yes, there were moments that he was okay
Mm-hmm.
and that he had those flashes that you hope for.
Mm-hmm.
But this team is too good to go into next year with still that question mark of, is he going to become those flashes or is he the inconsistency?
Yep.
And the way that I see Mike White is like a Washington Redskins Kirk Cousins,
Mm-hmm.
where
Okay.
nothing flashy, he just gets the job done. No one's
Mm-hmm.
going to give him the credit that he really deserves,
Yeah. Yeah,
but he
I think that's
just
a fair comparison too, because I think Cousins was taken in the third or fourth round too, if I'm not mistaken.
he was a fourth rounder, yeah. And Robert
Mm-hmm.
Griffin the third was the second overall pick in the
Yeah.
same draft. I mean, not same
Yep.
draft for Zach and Mike, but like I said, this team is too good. You're getting ABT back next year. You're getting Breece back next year. I I don't even know what happened to Michael Carter. He fell
Mm-hmm.
off the face.
Yeah,
And with the
I was
game
definitely
yesterday,
disappointed in how Carter's played the last little bit. I mean, he stole an interception that was gonna be thrown. He wound up catching that pass. But what do you think the answer is for next year at quarterback? Because I completely agree with you. I'm in that same sort of mindset.
you can't go into next year with Zach. I don't know if you cut him or if you keep him as your three, just because he's still
Well, you
on that
can't cut
rookie
him.
contract.
Yeah, his contract. You can't move on from Zach until after June 1st, when you could trade him or cut him, and it costs you $10 million for next year. So you're still paying him either way, and then it
Not
would be
worth it.
$10 million for the following year. So it's really not like a great situation for the Jets.
Mhm.
I would say at worst, I would want to trade him after June 1st, but I would prefer to keep him on the roster because I think his upside is still astronomically high.
Mhm.
So, like, in the event whoever our starting quarterback is goes down, I'd rather roll the dice with someone who was the former number 2 overall pick that might be able to click given some more time in coaching. Hopefully.
Yep. And to answer your question about where I would have the quarterback situation, like
Mm-hmm.
with what you just explained, Zach is your three. Keep him on your roster just for hopes.
Yep.
I go into next season as Mike White with my starter.
Yep.
And then this is the optimistic side of things.
Mm-hmm.
I think you win one, maybe two more games, don't get into the playoffs. So draft pick's going to be 12 to 18, I want to say.
So right now, I
Maybe
think
there's
we're
a
sitting at
quarterback
pick
that you like.
17. If we're the first team out of the playoffs, we would be picking 17th.
Okay.
So we're
Maybe
probably
trade up a little
somewhere
bit
between
for a
14 and
quarterback.
17, most likely.
But go into next year with Mike White as your starter, maybe have a quarterback that you can groom who's more of a pocket passer, because Zach is not skilled enough. He plays like Josh Allen, but he's not 6'6" and can run you over. And he's not
Mm-hmm.
athletic enough for Lamar to make you miss.
It's fair.
And so he's too in between those two to play the way that he plays. And
Mm-hmm.
he tries to get away with too much like Josh Allen does, and he just
Mm-hmm.
doesn't, because that's not
Doesn't
his
quite work out.
Yeah,
Brother,
he's
I
not. He's not a
appreciate you
unicorn.
calling in from Detroit. I got a few more callers. You better check
You're outta
that from
here!
that cockpit. Always good. I really like this new setup. This new setup's kind of fun. You can rip through people. All right, next up, I got Joe, the Atlanta Jets fan. Joe, how you doing, brother?
What's going on, man? What's good with you?
I am hanging in there. I'm trying to keep my sanity about me based on like everything I'm seeing and where I thought the Jets could have been. It's a little frustrating. Talk to me. How are you feeling after yesterday's loss? What do you think about our playoff potential, and what do you think about the Jets moving forward?
Okay, so let me get straight to it. Jeff Ulbrich defensive play calls was shitty. I mean, it was like basically I think he's thinking we're like the 49ers where we keep the offensive players in front of us. We
Mm-hmm.
play like really non-aggressively the whole entire time. Like we normally press where we normally press at, like on like our third and nines or third and eights. We did not do. It was just a shit show on defense altogether. As far as Zach Wilson, he played the best he could. Like
Mm-hmm.
I can't ask for more. Like for what he did, of course his lack of making the easy look easy. He had like one moment where he made the easy look easy. And that was the little the air the little floating pass he did to CJ Uzama.
Yeah.
That was like the only time he made the easy look easy. I was like, okay, he better make that pass. That was a great pass.
Yeah, it's the
That
one
was a
right on the
great
end zone, right?
offensive play call.
Like
Yeah.
he rolls out a little bit. I was like, that's the play I wanted to see with Mike White on the end zone with the friggin' Vikings. And you see it there with Zach.
Right. The same.
Ugh.
Right. What was that play against the Vikings? That could have saved us. As far as like how I feel about our playoff chances. Let me get to the offensive line as well. The offensive line didn't give Zach Wilson a chance at all. Like they played like crap. Every
Dude, they're
play,
booty cheeks.
the defensive
Booty
line
cheeks.
is yeah. Every play, the defensive line is in that backfield. Like he's really throwing, like he's under pressure the entire game. So we really can't. I can't blame this loss on Zach. I'm gonna be very optimistic about Zach Wilson. I can't blame this on him. Just on him I blame it on the defense and the defensive play call, and some of the offensive play call as well. And like you said, he's like third and fourth, like fifth on my list of like it could have been. But as far as our playoff chances, I'm still optimistic about it. At the beginning of the season, I had us winning 8 or 9 games, barely missing the playoffs, and hey,
it looks like we're right in that wheelhouse for you. I hope we're making the playoffs.
Right,
yeah, dude, I was at that 9 and 8.
We can really cause hell in the playoffs. Like we can knock a team out for real.
Well, that's just it. I feel like if the Jets can get in, the Jets can win a game. I think for sure. I think we could play with anyone with this defense, especially if we're healthy. But I think, winning that first round matchup, it would be, let's see, if the Jets were 7th, they would play the 2 seed. So right now we'd be playing the Chiefs. That's not ideal. I would say that's probably less than ideal. Yeah, well, I'd like to see how we match up against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. That would be nice because we haven't played them, or it doesn't feel like we've played them in a long time. Did we play them last year? We played the North, or no? We played the West last year. We played the Broncos.
We played them the year before last. We played them with.
That's what it was. That was the Raiders. The fail Mary with the Raiders and like that long pass to with Lamar Jackson. That was the last time we played that division, I guess. Ugh, not good. Not good. Brother, thank you so much for the call. You have been ejected.
That's it. You're out of here.
From the cockpit. Love it. Absolutely love it. Boys and girls, be going live until 10 o'clock, so if you want to call in, make sure you click that link in the live chat. I've got 3 people on deck right now. I got Max, Lima Bean, and then Joe, so make sure you guys stay on your phone. Don't click out of the link because then it kind of bumps you down off the list. But if you click on this and you want to talk, let's talk some sports. Talk some Jets here. All right, Max, I got you up next. Max, how you doing tonight?
What's up, Brian? Cheers, man.
Dude, I am hanging in there. Talk to me. How you feeling about yesterday's loss and about the Jets moving forward?
Oh, I felt totally at home at that loss. I've seen that game 100 times.
Oh, no, don't tell me that. I have seen that game 100 times. It's not good.
Yeah, that was that. I'll tell you, giving up that touchdown was just
gut-wrenching.
Oh,
dude,
my God.
We had it. It was in the bag. And, like, I trust this defense to not give up that kind of play and, like, to see it happen.
You notice they've kind of taken a little bit of a back seat since that New England game.
Yeah. No, it definitely feels like it. Like, ever since they have... Yeah, I mean, we have not generated any turnovers. There's been, I think, 1 turnover in the Bears game, and that's it. That's where the opportunistic, parts have kind of gone.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I thought Zach was okay.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm on this too. Like his stat line was okay. Like everything outside of the completion percentage was fine.
He's too inconsistent. He'll take a 10-yard sack, then he'll make a 20-yard throw, and then he'll take another sack because it's 3 inches, and then they'll punt the ball. And it's just he just can't put together just throw after throw.
Yeah, when I look at Mike White, I'm seeing 3 yards, 4 yards, and it's like, okay, we're in a 3rd and 3 now, or we're in reasonable downs and distances, and it just feels like we're never in that with Zach.
How many times did you see 3rd and 11 yesterday.
Oh, I mean, it's so bad. You can't have those kinds of downs and distances. And we saw that with Mike White against the Bills too, where we just had penalties, but it was for a different reason. Like it wasn't Mike White necessarily taking bad sacks. I think he had 1 or 2 that were really egregious, but Zach kind of had, it sort of been par for the course for him.
Listen, it wasn't all his fault either, right?
No, definitely not.
The run game was awful. The defense let everyone down. The special teams was horrendous. That punt return there was so much in that game that was like, oh, I remember this. Right. This is what football is. This right. You give up the touchdown on the punt return. You give up a 50-yard touchdown to the 3rd string tight end on 4th and inches. I mean, thank God the Patriots lost in the way that they lost yesterday, because without that, it would have been. Can you imagine just ESPN today after that Jets game if the Patriots hadn't out-Jets the Jets?
Dude, thank God they lost in the fashion they did. Nothing makes me happier than watching the Patriots lose, and to be embarrassed like that was just so wonderful. Max, thank you so much for the call. You have been ejected from the cockpit. All right. Who we got up next? All right, I got Lima Bean, then Joe, Brad, and then King Lowski. Make sure you guys stay in the green room right now. Don't click out of the link because then it drops you from my end and I won't get to see you. So Lima Bean, what's up, dude? Welcome back to the cockpit.
Yeah, that was a kick to the balls and a half. Like,
right? That's really these last 3 games has it. I shouldn't even say last 3. These last 5. 4 of the last 5 have been a kick to the nuts.
Why. This one in particular just really was like, oh man, not only did they kick you in the nuts, they stomped you in the nuts. Like, it's just that reminded me of vintage circa 2012 Rex Ryan defense where it was good for a long time and they just couldn't do anything. I mean, we got no pass rush yesterday.
Yep.
I'll give the Lions credit. They got a damn good offensive line, which is the opposite of our offensive line. Like, listen, Zach, he was up and down. I don't even know what to make of it. Like, it's a conundrum. Like, you saw the wild plays, like, oh my God. Then you saw the boneheaded plays, and just like, why can't you just throw a simple pass? But then at 3 and 19, throw a dart. Like, I don't understand you, man. Like,
he's making these hard plays like happen, and the easy plays just look like they're incredibly hard all the time.
Like, he was like, he nailed his pro day throw thing again, but then like I mean, at the very least, his press conference was solid, but like, it's just, I can't blame the game on Zach. Like, obviously, he needs to be a lot better, but I mean, at least it was an improvement from my eyes. Not much, but something. But that being said, the defense had a chance to win the game. Clock management, like, I'm gonna give Salah a pass, but that was his fault, and I'm happy that he owned it up. Unlike like Adam Gase, he would probably blame Sam Darnold for that shit. But like,
completely agree.
Just, but like, there was everything. Like, the offensive line, like, I've never seen a run game that bad, like.
Yeah, it was less than 2.3 yards a carry, including Zach's.
Like, we're always in 3rd and long, and it was like running on 1st and 2nd down. We're getting nothing or negative yards. There was a while where, like, I was watching, it was like Zonovan Knight had like 10 rushes for like -2 yards. Like, what the hell? And then when we do get positive yards, a flag or penalty, and like, listen, I can't blame the refs. That being said, on offense, we can't get a call to save. Like, they're mauling our freaking wide receivers, and like Garrett Wilson's being like tugged on, pushed on. Like, he's getting like a little jail mollywop there, and like nothing's happening. Like, I'm just frustrated. Like, it's just, you see, and then I guess if you look back before the season started, you're like, oh, we have won 7 games, it'd be great, but then you have to readjust your expectations. But at the same time, you're looking at as a whole, like, what's going on? And then I got to see Trevor Lawrence like doing great. It's like, you know what, Brayton, man, you could do everything. Like, you couldn't let the punt and the return go against the Rams, but you got to let these guys go. Really? Like, that's why I'm just like, I would give my soul for Zach to be good, because I do not want to have another 20 years where, like, we could have had Peyton Manning, we could have had Trevor Lawrence. I still remember, exactly, dog. Like, I still remember, like, Tony Gonzalez, after that game, was laughing his ass off that we won. It's like, you did all of that for nothing. That's what I said.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the entire media landscape after the Jets beat the Rams that year was just laughing the entire time.
But, for all
it was
the
just a
fans
laughing.
That wanted the culture change because we won that one game. I'm glad you're happy now. You better hope that Zach figures it out by some miracle because this is going to suck if this is the case, you know? Like,
completely agree, brother. You have been ejected from the cockpit. I missed this super chat before, so I want to get to this real quick. Joe S. dropped in and said, an elite defense makes a stop to win the game. I agree. An elite defense does not give up that 50-yard blunder to a backup tight end. And it was just weird. Like, I don't know who missed that assignment. Like, from my view, it looked like it was going to be C.J. Mosley because that's, who was in the center of the field. But it looks like, at least from what Samini was saying, it should have been Williams or Whitehead, which, I'll be honest, I didn't even know who was there. Like, who was paying attention to it. It was so wide open, it didn't feel like anyone could have possibly had that assignment. All right. Joe, welcome to the cockpit. How you doing, brother?
Ryan. Hey, Ryan, how you doing?
I am hanging in there, dude. I'm trying to stay, optimistic in the face of, these final 3 games, but it's getting harder and harder, and I don't want to feel myself getting, more twisted and jaded as the season goes on.
Yo, man, I'm so disappointed. I gotta laugh. I'm just so disappointed.
It was so frustrating. So frustrating.
You know, Zach, I thought didn't do bad, but he didn't do good. But I gotta say, nobody's talking about the running game. Usually, when we don't run more than 100 yards, we don't win. And I'm starting to realize that, boy, what a big blow it was to lose Breece Hall.
Oh, yeah. Between Breece and AVT, I mean, we have been on a skid ever since we lost both of them. And we got very lucky that Breece scored the touchdown in the Denver game that he did, because we should have one more loss to our name because of how poorly we performed in that game overall. And to an extent, as much as we say when we rush for over 100 yards, you win the game, part of that has to do with the Jets leading and having to run out the clock, and that's where some of that comes from. When you're trailing or losing, you're not going to run the ball the way you need to, and it doesn't keep the other team's defense off balance. When you have to throw, you're going to be in more pass rush situations. So
yeah, you're right.
It's kind of a double-edged sword.
I don't know if you see it, but I think Mike LaFleur is regressing.
I don't know enough about setting up a defense and the play calls that were made and the routes that are selected based on previous plays to really know whether that is correct or not. Because when I look at him, I'm looking at the receivers and they are running wide open. This is the best I've seen. Zach Wilson has the worst completion percentage for receivers that are more than 3 yards away from their defender. It's something insane. And the Jets have been really good at it.
Yeah, Zach, once again, I think it's his mechanics. He can't seem to make the short pass. He's great with the long pass. Mm-hmm. And it seems like he just can't do it in the pocket. He gets rattled. He's got to be on the move like Russell Wilson or Steve Young was, in their heyday, moving around a lot in the pocket. But in this league, you have to balance it out. You have to be both, or if you can't run, you got to be great in the pocket. So I don't know, man. I just don't know if Zach Wilson's our future. To be honest, Ryan, I don't think he is.
Yeah, sadly. Gut feeling, gun to my head, I'm saying I'm bailing on Zach. I mean, because of the contract, I'm not bailing on him. I think you hold on to him because the worst case scenario is he's just not a good quarterback and he's your third string guy that at least has some athletic upside. But this looks like a painful. This looks rough. I don't like that this is how we're talking about our quarterback right now, because I saw him when we were drafted. And I'm thinking this guy's got insane arm talent. He's got insane physical gifts. I think he's the most physically gifted quarterback we've ever seen as a New York Jet, and he just can't put together the easy stuff. If he was able to do the easy things and he couldn't figure out the hard stuff, you could live with that. But him not being able to do the easy things is the part that makes everything so much more frustrating. Joe, thank you so much for the call. You have been ejected from the cockpit. Sorry, I ejected you kind of fast, so I don't know if I I let you finish your thought process there. All right, guys, on the call-in line, we got King, Lowski, V-Man, Cassidy, and Bobby in that order. So hang in there tight. King, how you doing tonight? Welcome to the cockpit.
Ryan, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for giving me a platform to vent, man, for the disgust I saw yesterday, man.
Ugh,
let me just
rough.
start by saying,
Talk
bro. Let me just start with the defense. That overrated fucking defense, bro. Are you kidding me? The pass rush, where were you? Sauce is the next thing to Revis. They won't even throw his way. That's the brightest spot on our defense, man. Where is the pass rush, bro? Are you kidding me? Then you let the slowest tight end probably in the NFL get a 51-yard touchdown. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me, bro? Let me start with Zach. Zach was not the problem yesterday. He actually played pretty good. But the easy looked hard. Why? Why are you overthrowing a guy 5 yards away from you, son? I do not understand that, bro. What is going on, man? I still believe in this team because I'm a Jet fan. I've been a Jet fan since '93. So I'm not wavering on my team. I still think we can make the playoffs. But, man, Thursday is a must win. No mistakes can happen on Thursday, bro. We need a perfect game because this team is coming in hot and they are not playing because they are trying to make a playoff push. So, hey, man, ain't no excuses, bro.
You gotta win this game. Like you're going up against Trevor Lawrence. You're in your own building. Right. You're getting a warm weather team that's got to come into a cold, hostile environment. We need it more than they need it. Like this is like all hands on deck. The Jets have to get through this game because if we get through this game, we got a 10-day stretch of being off. Like that's a mini bye. We can get healthy. If you can get through this game, I'm confident Mike White will be back for the final 2 games.
Yes, sir. Last thing, Ryan, the special teams. Let me say this about the special teams. I really don't believe that it was man's fault. I believe our defense put us in that position to where, I mean, at the end of the day, man, you have got to hold the Lions, man. You can't tell me we don't have a better defense than them, man. Man has got to do better. This is just mind-blowing, bro. It is mind-blowing. The special teams we have 2 touchdowns on us this year. There has only been 3 touchdowns on punt returns in the NFL this season. 2 is on us, bro.
We're in first place. We're leading the category. We've done it.
Oh, my God.
We're leading the NFL in punt return touchdowns for the wrong reason. King Lowski, thank you so much for the call, brother. You've been ejected from the cockpit. Oh, all right. You guys know him. We got V-Man up. V-Man, how you doing tonight? Brutal.
Hello?
Right? Oh, yeah. You're here. I'm talking to you. How you doing, V-Man?
I didn't know it was you for a second. I was just practicing a little bit of my guitar. But, yeah, no, that was a brutal loss. Like I said, the only saving grace is, like I said, we finally don't have to ever hear Patriots fans mutter butt fumble ever again.
I don't know about that. I still think the butt fumble is more embarrassing because the term butt is in it. But I do think that play that they had yesterday was far more detrimental to anything compared to where the Jets were with the butt fumble.
No, that's worse. It's like you had to do nothing and you go into overtime. You had a chance. The Jets were not going to win that Thursday night game as much as we wanted, they're never going to win that game. But, look, also this. I want to ask this question. So I was thinking about putting a song to that. So what do you think? Okay. Looney Tunes or Benny Hill?
I heard someone sent me a link, or no, maybe I saw it. It could have been Reddit. It was like I added music to the Patriots highlights so they would be happy, and it was like and it's like the the campy kind of like running around. Oh, it was nice to see that. You guys know Masterwork. He's hopped on this channel a few times, and he ripped into the Jets fans for losing to the Lions, and watching that Patriot loss was a thing of beauty. Like there's what is it, 7 Wonders of the World? That's the 8th. That was amazing. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Or 8 Wonders of the World, that's the 9th one.
Yeah, no, like I said, yeah, but the thing is, look, whether or not that game was frustrating, I really don't know what to think about with Zach. I mean, look, end of the day, he did give you a lead. You did blow it, and you mismanaged the clock. I think he needs to play. He needs to get the easy stuff down. Look, whatever happens this year, look, we're trending in the right direction. That's the most important thing.
Oh, yeah. No, I think so, too. I think there's definitely hope for the future. It's just frustrating for this season based on where we were at and the monumental collapse that we have had so far.
I know. It sucks. Like, look, it sucks. But look, I know it sucks. It's just painful. Like, I would like to see them turn around. I don't know how plausible it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Look, you know what? If they do turn it around, I will perform it. I will completely perform House of the Rising Sun if they turn around and make the playoffs.
You don't think we can go on a run here? Jacksonville, Seattle, Miami? You don't think we're winning 3 in a row?
Well, you want me to be honest?
Nope. You're out.
Out of here!
Sorry, B-Man. Love you, brother, but you are out of here. All right, up next, we've got Cassidy. Cassidy, welcome to the cockpit. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good other than that loss, man.
Ugh, brutal, right? It's just
but I'm trying to look optimistic for Thursday, man. So we'll see what we can do. And the crazy thing is, it wasn't Zach's fault, so nobody can sit there and say, "Oh, it's his fault. It's all his fault. We lost."
Sure.
I wish they would have said, "Hey, Zach, do you feel like the defense let you down at the end of the game?"
I really would have enjoyed that question. That would have been funny. And then just piss on a hornet's nest. He's just like, "Oh yeah, I think they let us down," or "Oh no, I didn't think they let us down." That would have been a really good question. I can't believe we didn't get to see that.
I felt like we could hold them too, so I was like, just don't let them get a touchdown. That's it.
Yeah.
Field goal, anything else, just not a touchdown. And then obviously they give it to the slowest guy. And he
50-yard touchdown. You filter your Madden players by slowest 40 time or slowest speed rating, and it's that guy that shows up. And
it's
that's
absurd, man.
That's who scores the fucking touchdown.
And then on top of that, Robert Saleh's not even calling timeout when we got the ball with 3 timeouts. I'm like, what are you doing, you moron?
Yep.
We could have probably had 3 more plays if he was using those timeouts properly, and would have been.
If he used it wisely, there was one play after the Garrett Wilson 10-yard catch that I think we ran off 20 seconds there. It was like brutal. Every second is so much more valuable than losing a down. Even if they challenged the play, I don't remember if it was on 3rd down or 4th down, but whatever it was, 2nd down or 3rd down. But at least if you lose a down, you still have more time. The time is so much more important.
100%, dude. And then on top of that, people are getting mad at Zach and Mike White. I'm like, okay, first of all, the offensive line is literal trash. That's the reason Mike White is injured. And then look at Zach. Zach steps back. Zach doesn't even get the step back. He gets the snap, and he's already under pressure about to get sacked.
Oh, dude, it was immediately getting abused. Every time he was trying to take a 5 or 7 step drop, pressure coming up the middle, pressure coming off the edges.
That's why he has to roll out. The rollouts work so good for him because the so much pressure.
Well, I think it also eliminates half the field of vision, right? It was weird because he'd roll out to the side and then he'd throw the opposite side of the field, which 3 or 4 times yesterday. But
he makes the hard look easy.
It's weird. It's I love that he makes the hard look easy. That's exactly what you want in a franchise quarterback. But you got to hit the easy shit too. That's what's driving me up the fucking wall.
He's clearly got talent, dude.
Yes.
And if he had a few more years to actually sit back and develop, I think he would be really good. But I think for now, Mike White is the best choice.
So I want to ask you this real quick. Do you think? Let's say we go into the offseason and Mike White has a bidding war for him in some capacity. I don't know what the number would be, but let's say Mike White is too rich for the Jets to be able to bring back.
Yeah.
Would you endorse a quarterback that holds down the fort for a year and then us to go back to Zach Wilson, or would you want to try and find someone that could be the franchise guy instead of Zach Wilson? Like, where are you on that kind of spectrum?
Man, that's a tough one because I would just say go and pay for Mike White because we know he can play good. Like we've seen those 3 games, he made the easy look easy, and he kept us in games. Because I'm telling you, dude, if he wouldn't have got injured in that Buffalo game and stayed in the entire game, I think we could have won it. Because look at that Flacco fumble, and then everything went downhill from there, dude.
Yeah. I completely agree. I think you win that game, and then you probably win yesterday's game. Like I think there's
100%.
There's no reason to think that Mike White wouldn't have had 300 yards. It just would have been a different 300 yards than what Wilson got.
Exactly.
Like I think you're looking at those long bomb passes that were like 50-50 balls that guys had to run back for. Mike White's probably not throwing those, so he's not getting the long chunk plays. So maybe he's looking closer to like 8 yards per attempt as opposed to Zach Wilson's like 14 or whatever it was. But
lastly, I was gonna say. People want to sit there and complain about the quarterback, but it doesn't matter who the heck you have at quarterback. If your offensive line cannot block your quarterback, it doesn't matter who it is. So, I mean, you could have the best guy in the world, and he's going to look like trash if your offensive line can't block, and he's going to end up injured, like Mike White. So,
completely agree.
The offensive line.
Could not agree with you more. The offensive line, it's amazing how this game came down to the trenches on both sides. They had the best offensive line in the league, or like a top 3 unit in the league. We couldn't get a sack. That was a huge issue. On the other side of the ball, their defensive line abused our offensive line. Like that was the game. The entire game was that.
I think if we would have had Quentin Williams, it would have made a massive difference, though, dude. Massive difference.
100%.
I think
Quinn just made
himself a big difference.
If there was any hesitation on paying Quinnen, yesterday's game in not having him was all the justification you needed to write that $20 million a year check and send it his way.
Do it.
100%.
That's the thing. And especially because he's young, it's better. Like, remember when we went out and we spent all that money on, what's his name, from the Steelers? Oh, my gosh. He went and did YouTube boxing.
Oh, Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, and then he was trapped.
Love me some Le'Veon Bell. It just didn't work out.
Yeah, exactly. Like, instead of like go in and get these guys, because they get their check and then they just suck or they get lazy. Get the guys that are young, seriously. And
I hear you, brother.
I think that's the way. What's that?
I said, I hear you, brother. Dude, I'm frustrated. It's frustrating because you see all the free agents the Jets have brought in over the course of the last few years, and it's like, man, how many didn't work? How many draft picks didn't work? Like the fact that Quinnen Williams is going to be the first player that we signed to a second contract that was drafted in the first round since Muhammad Wilkerson is bad. That is ugly.
I think the positive though is so good because you think about it. If we say we don't make the playoffs this year, even though I'm trying to be optimistic, I think we have a good chance at winning out because these games are a lot easier than the last few. We go into next season, we have a healthy Breece Hall. We can, maybe get some more offensive linemen. Everybody else is going to come back healthy, and we can figure out the whole quarterback situation. So I think it's looking good for next year, man.
Dude, I hope so. I got my fingers crossed. I think there's a lot of hope going into next year, and Joe Douglas is going to have a lot of questions when it comes to this Super Bowl caliber roster and the quarterback position. Cassidy, thank you so much for the call.
Yeah.
You have been
bro.
ejected from the cockpit. All right, up next we got Bobby. Bobby, how you doing tonight?
How you doing?
I'm hanging in there, having myself a little bit of fun talking to you guys while I'm trying to figure out just what the deal is with our Jets.
Well, you're awesome. Well, I told you I cheer for the Jets. I'm a Giant fan. I'm sorry, but I do cheer
That's
for the
all right.
But I agree with that guy. Just talk to Casey. He said don't pay the high, the older people like we have with Galladay. He can't catch anything. We pay him.
Yeah, the Galladay contract for the Giants has been brutal for them.
Yeah, it's horrible. But I think the Jets could win all 3 of the last games. Jaguars, Seattle, and Miami. You already beat Miami, remember?
Sure. That was the 3rd-string quarterback, though. We knocked out Teddy Bridgewater on the first play of the game. So, like,
I think the Jets defense could get after him.
I hope so. I don't think Miami's offensive line is anything to write home about, and I also don't think their pass rush is legit, and I think that's going to cause us some problems. I think with Chubb and with who's their other guy? They got like two really good edge rushers coming off the edge, and I don't have a ton of faith that we're going to be able to block them effectively.
Yeah, like the New York Giants offensive line. Neil. Well, at least we won our game yesterday. We're so happy. So, yeah, and I think, you have a shot to win all three last games, I think. Jacksonville got lucky against the Cowboys. Did you see that game yesterday?
I did. I saw that. The NFL is second to none when it comes to sporting events and the parity that goes on with the entirety of the league in general. Like, it feels like you have the number 1 and number 2 picks in the draft.
Yeah.
In contention for the playoffs this year in the Jaguars and Lions. And the number 4th pick and number 5th pick in the Jets and Giants are both currently like a game out of the playoffs or currly in the playoffs.
No,
like, that's what's so fascinating.
Yeah. We won yesterday, so we're in the playoffs. We did yeah. So, did you see that game against Minnesota Vikings?
I did.
Do you believe who the quarterback was for the Colts?
So, I mean, you're talking about Matt Ryan?
Yeah, what happened to him in another game that the Patriots, remember that game?
Look, I think Matt Ryan is totally washed. I think he's not the quarterback he was, a few years back.
But they got 33 points over Minnesota Vikings defense.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, it's the Jets should have been able to score more points than the Vikings. We had the opportunity to do so. There was all those little like fractions of an inch, or fractions of a foot, I guess, on certain plays that the Jets were able to or not able to convert on that were super frustrating. But dude, I don't know what to make of it. I hope my Jets get it turned around. I hope we win the last 3 games, like you said, brother. Thank you so much for the call. You've been ejected from the game.
You're out of here.
All right, I got Ethan, Sam, Alex, and then Ethan in just a second. I just want to bring some attention to a few super chats that just came in. Let me hit those real quick, and then we'll get to your comments here. Sir Robin donated a $2 super chat, but didn't have anything attached to it. And then he had a $5 super chat that says, Zach has the talent, but needs to be developed by better coaches than he's had. It's always that's the chicken or the egg conversation, right? Like, is Zach a good quarterback, or are the coaches good, or are coaches bad at developing a quarterback? And is Zach Wilson talented, just hasn't been developed? So for me, when I'm looking at everything in general, I'm saying, okay, Mike White looks like he's been developed. Unless you believe he was developed by Adam Gase and the Cowboys, I think there's some value in him being on multiple rosters under multiple head coaches, and I think there is some validity to that. But I would say that for me, looking at how quarterbacks have performed with LaFleur, and that is Flacco having success, Johnson having success, White having success, Pickett and Ritter both having success in the Senior Bowl on limited time. And I'm looking at Zach, and Zach appears to kind of be the consistent outlier there. So we'll see. I mean, I do hope it's a coaching issue, and I hope we can bring in someone like maybe a Kurt Warner that could be his quarterback coach for next year, and maybe there's a shot the Jets can revitalize this thing. But I don't know. I don't know how you roll into next season with Zach as your sole guy. All right. I've got Eli on. What's up, Eli? How you doing tonight?
Not too good, because I do not think we're going to make the playoffs anymore. So.
Oh, Eli. Should I eject you right now? You've been hanging out in the back for so long. I should just eject your ass right now. No, I'm just kidding. Talk to me. Why don't you think we could make it?
We don't got a quarterback, man. Zach Wilson is atrocious. He's terrible. I can't take everyone defending him right now. I mean, I feel like we didn't watch the same game yesterday. Like stats without context are meaningless, the way I see it.
Dude, I'm so glad you said that, because I was like, I had a few people irate at me for my upsetness at Zach Wilson. And I had to go back, and I was looking at some other content creators. I was like, am I totally off? Did I totally watch a different game? I didn't think Zach had a great game. He's not the biggest reason we lost, but he did not have a good game. I think he was just okay. This is good, 10 games ago good. But now it's I need to see you performing well. And I don't know if I got that from him yesterday.
I don't even know if he was okay, man. He missed so many easy throws. And like people
Mhm.
say, like on that 4th and 18 when he did that magical play to get us a 58-yard field goal, right? That's what everyone says.
Yep.
He put us in a position to win the game at the end of the day.
Mhm.
Well, yes, but he also put us in that 4th and 18. I mean, he missed
Mhm.
the Barrios touchdown, right? Like you remember that play when Barrios
Yep.
burnt the safeties? He completely overthrew that. Then he had Elijah Moore, like on
Mhm.
on the second down before that, for a massive game that he overthrew. Then he
Yep.
took the sack on 3rd down. I think it was 3rd
Mhm.
down when he held the ball for like 5 seconds, and he was doing that
Mhm.
all game long. And it's like people like he didn't throw 5 interceptions and single-handedly lost the games for us. But you
Mhm.
can't win games with the quarterback play like that. I mean,
Mhm.
people blame the defense, and listen, was the defense great? No, but the defense put us in a position to win that game. I mean, you held them to 13 points. You're telling me you can't score more than, what, 20 points on the worst defense in the NFL?
Yeah, right. I do think I think the Lions are playing better than their ranking necessarily indicates, but I do think there is a real validity to what you're saying in terms of Zach Wilson and the erratic quarterback play. You can't win with quarterback play like that. You need to have at least consistency at the most important position on the field.
I mean, yeah. And if we go into next year with him as the quarterback, I'm going to lose it, man. I don't think we are, but
Mhm.
I really don't. We don't have any. I mean, I'm watching the Monday Night Football game right now on my computer. Rodgers does not look that good. Plus his money.
Mhm.
Brady looks washed. Jimmy G's injury prone. I don't. I think the best option, in my opinion, is
Mhm.
re-sign Mike White and then draft Anthony Richardson in the second round to sit behind him.
You and I have been talking about Anthony Richardson for a while. I don't know. The last few mock drafts I've seen, he's like borderline top 10. I think McShay had him at 10 or 12 if I'm not mistaken. And that's a little rich for me. I don't want to pull the trigger on quarterback in the first round unless they're like really confident Zach is not the guy, but I think that completely plummets anything you have as far as trade value with him. If you draft a quarterback in the second or third round, I think you can play it off as like, hey, we don't know if Mike White's going to be here next year. We still want Zach to be the guy. We need a backup quarterback. We're going to let this kid develop and see what happens. Richardson's the one that I think is interesting because he does have all those physical gifts, like you said. But I don't know if he's the guy based on like the throwing capacity he has.
He's not going top 10, man. I'll tell you what. I don't think he's going top 10, and he's the only quarterback that personally I would draft because I'm
Mhm.
not really a fan of any of the other quarterbacks. I'm just gonna like Bryce Young is super small, and I don't think at the NFL level like he's gonna have a
Mhm.
lot of injury issues. I feel like what we're seeing Kyler. I think he's
Mhm.
literally Kyler Murray again, and but sort of like he's towards ACL. He keeps getting injuries. CJ
Mhm.
Stroud has processing issues and is bad under pressure.
Mhm.
I don't. That's what we have with Zach Wilson. Will Levis to me is Zach Wilson 2.0. I will not touch him with a 10-foot pole. Um, and then you have Richardson. I really like his upside. He's 6'4", and I know short quarterbacks work, but I mean, we took the short quarterback, and watching Trevor Lawrence, 6'6" Trevor Lawrence, it just hurts going back at it at how we lost him. Imagine with Trevor Lawrence where we would be right now.
I know.
We're
I
Super
know.
Bowl.
That's
We're
what's so brutal. Like
contenders.
the reaction that I had, I actually got on a Jacksonville radio because of how distraught I was. Jacksonville was playing my fucking clip. They're like, the Jet fans don't know how to react. They just beat the Rams. They lost out on Trevor Lawrence. And I'm like, you've got like this was everything we needed. And last year I'm hoping and praying. I'm like, okay, Trevor Lawrence looks awful. Urban Meyer's terrible. Like, we got the guy. We got Zach Wilson. He'll be fine. Urban Meyer's gone. Trevor Lawrence starts taking off the last half of the year. Zach Wilson plummeting down. But then I look at, like, for me, if I'm going hindsight, I'm looking at Zach and I'm saying, okay, if I were to do it again, I would say I'm still trading Sam. I would not draft Zach. I would trade back for Jimmy Garoppolo in the big trade up for them to get Lance or Zach or whatever. That's the play, I think, hindsight 2020.
I disagree. What I'm doing is, first of all, I just wanted to make it clear. I
Mhm.
know there's no record of this, but I was super anti-Zach before the draft. I
You and I
pushed
talked
it
about
very.
it. I know there's record. Well,
Yes,
there may not be record, but you and I
yes,
talked about this. I
yes.
remember it.
I pushed very hard for Fields over Wilson, and I said all the issues with he went up against COVID schedule. BYU had the best O line for the conference. He
Sure.
faced no pressure. I said that he doesn't really have to process anything. And I said he just throws it up all the time. And all of those were correct. And as much as it hurts, it's like I said, and listen, I'm not the biggest Fields fan right now. I don't think quarterbacks win with 1,000 rushing yards. I don't really think that's a quarterback position. But then again, imagine even with Fields, man, we would be so much better. We'd be like 11-3 right now with Fields.
So Fields is an interesting one for me because if he can figure out how to throw the ball, I would feel confident that we made the wrong selection. Right now, I think you could say you made the wrong selection because of how Zach has performed, but I don't necessarily believe Fields is like some great quarterback. And if you watch the live stream we did for the Clemson Ohio State game when Fields was just getting blasted by Clemson players left and right, like this dude showed a ton of grit. I was like, that's my quarterback. Like, dude, I'm all amped up on it. Like I was all about it. And I wouldn't have hated the Justin Fields pick. I understand why people were concerned because of the Ohio State offense and everyone looks good in it. And, you know, is he processing things fast enough? I think those are still valid questions, but I think they built an offense around him similar to Lamar Jackson where you can win with that style of offense. And I don't know if that necessarily happens with this coaching regime here because it doesn't seem like they're super flexible on their game plan. But Eli, thank you so much for the call. You've been ejected from the cockpit.
Listen, you're out of here.
All right, I'm going to burn through these calls right here, so I'm not going to take any more, but we're going to do Sam, Alex, Ethan, and Omar. You guys will be our final four to round out the show. So Sam, welcome to the cockpit.
Hey, Ryan, how's it going tonight?
I am hanging in there. I'm trying to stay positive, even though it's getting more and more grim for our playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, I woke up. It was just a normal, non-victory Monday that I'm used to over the past few years.
Right. It seems like this is getting to be a consistent trend for our team for the last 20 years or so. Probably even longer than that, but I know what you're saying.
I mean, Lions are a good football team. They're playing hot, so I mean, I'm not super down about the loss, but
sure.
The biggest thing to me is we play this bend don't break style defense. The one time we needed us, or it was either we're getting the stop 3 and out, or they're going down the field getting to the 20-yard line kicking a field goal. This is the one time the defense broke, and the dam burst and downhill from there.
Yeah, I mean, do you think I really think if we can find a way to win against the Jaguars, if there's some hope, Zach just strings together a few good drives, the defense plays lights out, whatever it is, if we get Quinnen back and we can find a way to win, I'm confident we're going to get White back the following week. I think with the 10 days off, I think that'll be enough time for him to find some doctor that'll clear him.
Do you think if Zach plays absolutely lights out on Thursday, like a 52-yard rushing touchdown, 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, 75% completion percentage, they throw him in against Seattle in the next game, or do they stick with Mike White?
If Zach has a game where he's like 350 plus, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, even without the rushing, but let's say he gets like 20 yards rushing.
The rushing touchdown, is a callback to last year's game. Where he had that rushing touchdown.
Yeah, maybe he gets something where it's like, he gets a few clutch first downs or something along those lines. I think you would have a very hard time taking him out based on that stat line. I would say if you see a game similar to what we saw yesterday, there's no way he starts if White's healthy. I don't think he's played well enough to keep his job.
I think you need a game like he played against Tampa Bay last year.
Agreed. I think that was one of his best games of the year. Same with the Jacksonville game. I think both were really good for him.
And to answer your question earlier, the other edge on Miami was Jordan Phillips.
There it is. 15. I'm thinking of it. I was like, it's something with a P, and I'm not getting it right now. I'm throwing out like other names in my head. I'm like, not gonna say it out loud. Gonna screw up. They got a filthy front four, or at least a filthy edge rush in that front four.
I mean, I'm just hopeful, Thursday they can, get their shit together. Special teams, clamps down. Brain Man doesn't, punt like he's a 3-year-old, and then,
He's on my shit list right now. I'm not a big Brain Man fan as we speak.
He needs to go.
Brother, thank you so much for the call. You have been ejected from the cockpit. All right, we got Alex. Alex, how you doing tonight? Alex, can you hear me? Welcome. to the cockpit. Alex, you there? All right, Alex, I'm hanging up. Sorry. All right, we're moving on to Ethan. Ethan, welcome to the cockpit. How you doing tonight, brother? Ethan going once. Ethan going twice. All right, Ethan's gone. All right, I do have... Oh, Alex, you were just there. Alex, if you pop back in, I'll answer you. I saw you in there. All right, I'm going to Omar. Omar, how you doing tonight, brother?
Hey, can you hear me good?
Yeah, I can hear you good. I just want to let Alex know that oh, he's back out again. I was going to say I'll answer him after you. Omar, how you doing tonight?
Oh, man, you know what? After that New England disaster, I'm feeling a lot better, actually. That was something. I thought that game was... I wasn't watching any of the games, and then I was informed about the New England thing. I was like, what happened? And I went and watched it, and I said...
Right? It's one of those things where it's like, oh man, we're gonna, if we back into the playoffs, almost like 2009 with Sanchez and Rex, like, oh, we're eliminated, and then you see like these weird fluke things happen. You're like, oh wait, well we kind of have a shot again.
So I woke up this morning exactly like, so you're saying there's a chance.
So you're saying there's a chance. I love that.
Listen.
Yeah.
So listen, so the question, right? Thoughts on the loss to the Lions. Listen, you can say this. This is what you could say. Blank was the reason we lost yesterday, and insert whatever you want. Seriously.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's fair. I think you could say every part of the team. Yeah, I think it was a team loss more than any other team loss in the season.
Right, and I think that I thought Zach had a pretty solid game. It's really, and I keep Saleh keeps harping at this. You know, the handful of bad plays that Zach has had that he gets killed for, like really killed for, and it almost kills the entire body of work. I think Zach had a pretty solid game yesterday. I haven't seen this mentioned anywhere. He threw to 7 receivers yesterday. Does anybody realize that?
I didn't. I'll be honest, I did not really.
He threw to both tight ends. He threw to Mims, Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore. He threw to Braxton Berrios and Jeff.
Eight different people. It was Garrett Wilson, Jeff Smith, Elijah Moore, CJ Uzama, Michael Carter, Braxton Berrios, Denzel Mims, Tyler Conklin. 8 guys that he threw it to.
Yeah, I mean that's progress right there. There's I know that the progress that we want to see is not there as far as, but guess what? Here's another 300-yard game, 2 touchdowns. There is progress there. Now, I am a little bit worried about Jacksonville. I swear, some of these 5 and 8 teams, they're playing like they're freaking 10 and 2. I mean, it's like what has gotten into Detroit and some of these teams? We thought the beginning of the schedule was the hard part. It's actually this last part that's been tough for us. Is some of these teams playing better than their record. I know Detroit's defense isn't good, but they're playing better as of late than the statistics tell you. So
no, I completely agree. I think the first half of the season
our playoff chances are good if we win this game.
Yeah, I agree. I think the beginning part of the schedule was vastly overrated based on how teams performed. Like we got lucky versus the Browns. There's no two ways around that. The Ravens and Bengals losses were, those made sense. Steelers, you got to win that game against a Mitch Trubisky or rookie Kenny Pickett. We wound up sneaking by in that game. You beat a third-string quarterback against in Miami, or at home versus Miami. You have Aaron Rodgers, who looks like straight up dog shit. He's been horrible all season long. He looks so bad. Then you go up against a backup quarterback in Denver, and thank God you have Breece Hall and AVT for at least like a quarter and a half, because they got you enough points to flounder the rest of the season. Or flounder the rest of the game and still sneak out a win. And then ever since then, you have both Patriot games that were losses. I don't want to say you got lucky versus the Bills, but Josh Allen threw 2 very uncharacteristic interceptions in that game that were not close to anyone. And they missed a field goal in perfect weather. Like, the Jets needed a lot of things to break for that game to go our way.
We didn't make mistakes. They made mistakes. That was the difference. Saleh's correct.
Yep.
And the second meeting with the Bills. On the second meeting with the Bills, and I don't put this on Mike White. I don't. We just made mistakes. And it's a team thing. So the last thing I'll say is that I think we've got to keep rolling with Zach. I don't think we should have ever started him as a rookie, but it's almost like Pandora's box. Once you open it, you kind of can't close it until you find out what's inside of it. So I want to stick with Zach. And I'll just say that. And thanks, Ryan, for taking my call.
Before you leave, don't leave yet. I see you right there. Let's say, okay, you want to stick with Zach. Is Zach your starter for next year, or are you bringing in competition? Who are you kind of looking at, or is Zach the guy?
Well, when you look at the veteran market right now, it's really not good. And I think part of that is due to this, like what Salah said today, instant coffee. We want things to happen right away. So the veteran market is getting dried up because guys aren't getting to where Mike White is, to where they can be in their 5th year. They're getting washed out, pretty fast. There's too much pressure on first and second round quarterbacks. So we should bring in someone competent. My fear with Mike White is that he might get a crazy offer from some crazy desperate team like the Houston Texans or something like that because of the Deshaun Watson contract, and give Mike White $15 million a year and fully guaranteed or something, some nonsense like that, to where the Jets can't match it. But because Mike White coming back with Zach Wilson, that could be a good quarterback competition. But one way or the other, I don't know how to answer your question, Ryan, other than to say Zach should still be on the team next year. There's no reason to give up on him.
Yeah, I'll be very clear. I do want Zach on the team next year. The only reason I would trade him next season is because he has become toxic to the locker room, which I don't believe is I don't want to say it's not in the cards, but I don't think that is his demeanor. I think he would have to do something by accident, kind of stupid, that would make everyone completely turn on him. Like, I don't think they think he's a bad guy. I think it's just he's not the quarterback right now. With Mike White, I do want to bring him back. I'm curious to see if they think Joe Douglas has had a pretty good pulse on the operation and on free agent contracts. So if Joe Douglas determines, hey, Mike White could fetch a large multi-year deal, he needs to franchise tag or transition tag Mike White and trade him if you think he's worth that much. Because I do think this offense can operate with his level of play. And I think you play the sort of game of, okay, is Jimmy G going to be a free agent? Because if I'm looking at Jimmy G as a free agent, if he leaves San Francisco and you have Jimmy G and you have Mike White, I would prefer Mike White 10 times out of 10. But if he's going to say, hey, I want the $25, $35 million, then I'm going to totally pass on him and go to the next quarterback. I'll try to find someone else. I do think Tannehill winds up getting cut. I don't think you can win a Super Bowl with him necessarily. I think if you have to rely on his arm, you're probably screwed. I would say of the quarterbacks that are going to hit the open market that most intrigue me, it's Mike White, and then after Mike White, it's Gardner Minshew. Like, for me, Gardner Minshew is a very interesting situation. He got traded from Jacksonville after Urban Meyer gets there, selects just Trevor Lawrence. Clearly, he's not the future in Jacksonville with the generational talent at the number 1 overall pick. He gets traded to Philadelphia. He thinks he's going to be competing with Jalen Hurts. Hurts has the leg up on him because he gets traded in August. Hurts winds up having an MVP. Hurts is hurt right now, yes. Has an MVP caliber season. Minshew's sitting behind him. Now Minshew is in line to start versus the Cowboys. Jets fans need to pay attention to this Cowboys game against the Jaguars, against the Philadelphia Eagles, because if he has himself a good game and he looks the part, you're looking at his last few starts as being like, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. And I think with the swagger he could bring to the Jets offense, and you look at his touchdown to interception ratio. Let me pull up his wiki real quick.
So one thing I will say is your best ability is availability. And Jimmy G keeps getting hurt, and I love Corey Davis. He keeps getting hurt too, and I think so. We might also be in the market for another receiver, a big body receiver as well. So there's a number of things that we can do to improve the team, specifically on the O line and the D line. That's where we need to start and go backwards from there. But I think no matter what, Zach should still be on the team. We can't give up on him. I know there are some fans that for whatever reason they hate him. I don't know what the guy did to you. All he's done is bust his ass to get into the NFL, like so many other players. So I don't know anything about the toxicity in the locker room. I think he's a good guy. So, but yeah, you're bringing up the Gardner Minshew thing.
Yeah, so Gardner Minshew, right now his career NFL statistics, his touchdown to interception ratio, 41 touchdowns to 12 interceptions, 6,003 yards, 93.9% passer rating. He has 517 rush yards, 1 rushing touchdown. This cat has a swagger about him, and I think he thought he was going to win the starting job in Philadelphia, and Jalen Hurts just played to an MVP caliber level, and that's his worst detriment. This guy hasn't hit the open market yet. Joe Douglas has an inside track on Philadelphia because that's where he came from prior to joining the Jets, and I trust his judgment whether he decides to go for Gardner or pass on Gardner because of the relationships he made in Philadelphia.
Ryan, the last thing I'll say is I want a team that's competitive year in and year out for the next 10 years, and I think we have a lot of pieces in place for that, foundational pieces. So whoever the quarterback is needs to be that answer. I don't know if Gardner Minshew is sustainable and the reason I say that is because you look at guys like Tua and others where they've the league has kind of figured out their offense and their scheme. I think once Zach figures out the mental with the physical, because he's got the courage, that could make him a dynamic quarterback that can make him very hard to stop. Whereas Minshew, Mike White, and those guys have limitations. But I like where you're going here. I'm not knocking it. I think all ideas are valid until they're not. And I have nothing bad to say about Mike White. So let's see what happens.
Fingers crossed. We're all Jet fans in the end. We're rooting for anyone that's wearing the green and white. Omar, thank you so much for the call. You have been ejected from the cockpit. Boys and girls, it has been a lot of fun talking with you tonight. I have felt the pulse of the Jets fan base. I'll be back here tomorrow, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock for our live Talking Jets panel. I hope all of you are here, hanging out with us. If you are heading out of this stream, make sure you hit that like button if you enjoyed what you saw here tonight. If you enjoy this kind of thing, I don't know. I like doing the call-in show. Always fun. Boys and girls, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And as always, go Jets.